This video definitely won't be for everybody, but I do feel it's important to talk about this right now with what's happening on the world stage. And I was only made aware of kind of what's happening disclosure-wise on the world stage due to a number of people mention it to me. So, and then after that, then I saw it on my own kind of social media. And I just think it's important to talk about it right now and how I notice my own energetic field being affected by being drawn into it a little bit, even though I felt like it wouldn't because I've been aware of things for such a long time. I noticed that it was. So I just thought it's important to talk about it right now for whoever finds this. Hopefully you'll find it helpful. So really, the message I got when tuning into it was stay in your own lane and tend to your own garden. And then synchronistically and funnily enough, I was watching David gardening, and we've got a lot of couch grass in our garden, and we've got quite a large garden. It's quite difficult to keep tidy, and the couch grass had really taken hold on this particular patch of garden. And I was watching him using a fork and just diligently pulling out the couch grass that takes, it has long tangled roots and it spreads quietly beneath the surface. And before you know it, you look out, it's taken over the whole garden. And if you've ever tried to remove it, you're going to know this. So as I watched him doing that, I thought, this is exactly what's happening in the world right now. There is a lot being revealed. There's a lot of disclosure. And I know a lot of us have been thinking, when is it going to happen? Because we've known about these things for such a long time. I know I have myself. And it's the things that have lived in the shadows that are coming to the light now. And it's just a reflection of what's happening within us individually. Our shadow self is coming up to be healed and integrated back in. So it's the same on the world stage. But I know for many people, it's going to be shocking and destabilizing, and it can feel frightening and send everybody into fear, confusion, and really massively overload the nervous system and be overwhelming. And I obviously became aware of the darker underbelly of humanity years and years ago, and you may have too. And I remember the exact moment of my whole world being turned upside down and my nervous system being really challenged in my understanding of reality and humanity as a whole. So if you are feeling drawn into the things that are happening right now, and you're maybe not aware that you're being affected by it, or maybe you are being aware that you're affected by it, it makes complete sense. But here's the message for those who are sensitive like me, energetically sensitive and awake, and know that they're here to hold light. Even if you don't know what your specific purpose is, you are a beacon of light if you're listening to these videos. And having noticed when I got drawn into this and I saw a couple of posts on what's unfolding, I wasn't really aware of it at the time, but I noticed that my energy totally shifted. I could feel my field contract, my heart closing slightly, and just a slight heaviness start to creep in. And I was thinking, why do I feel like this? And then I was like, okay. I've just allowed myself to get drawn in just a little bit. And it reminded me that we are the gardeners of our own energetic field. That's our responsibility. And what we focus on and tend to, we water that and we cultivate it. And so that's the same as, the two wolves, whichever wolf you feed, which one are you choosing to feed? So what you emotionally react to, you give it life, and what you consume repeatedly takes root inside of you. And I know there is a slight draw to look at this stuff because it feels like, well, at last it's kind of been exposed. But I'd really encourage you to just move away from it, just in terms of the effect that it can quite subtly have on your own energetic field. So just like when I watched those couple of videos after two people have told me about this stuff that's happening, it's a bit like the couch grass just quietly spreading underground within my own energetic field. And I realised in hindsight, that's what destabilized me. And I really thought, yeah, you've got to be really careful of what you're consuming, even if you think I'm just looking at it for just to see what's happening. No, I really do feel like at this time it's time to, well, I noticed for me it's really time to stay in my lane. And it's not denying what's happening, and it's not, just pretending everything's fine. But I know that when I'm rooted in my heart, I come from a clear space, and I am, responsible for my own frequency, which then affects the people that I come into contact with. And what's happening right now on the world stage is a great weeding of the collective garden. All that is hidden shall be revealed. Not to punish and to destroy the world, but to just bring the truth back into consciousness. And it's happening, as I've just mentioned, on the macro level, the world stage, but it's also happening on the micro level within ourselves, in our own emotional and energetic bodies. And we're all having our stuff come up to be processed, looked at, the awareness on it, and then transmuted. So old trauma, old fears, old patterns are surfacing everywhere, within everyone and within the whole of the collective consciousness. And if you are listening to this, you are very likely to be someone who chose at a soul level to be here at this time because you wanted to be. Not to drown in the chaos, but to steady your light within it. And there is no judgment about where anybody is on this whole field of consciousness, because just like when we go to school, when we're kind of 4 or 5, we go to nursery, and then we move through school and leave probably when we're 18 as sixth formers in the UK. And a sixth former doesn't look back at a nursery child and judge them for how they're behaving, their performance, that they can't do this type of maths equation, because everybody's learning at their own level of awareness. So everybody's exactly where they should be. So this really takes the judgment out of it in terms of people being not aware and just starting to wake up. So if you're somebody that has been awake for a long time, I'm pretty sure that you're already embodying this. But if not, that could really help to have compassion for those that are just seeing this, rather than, yeah, I told you, 10 years ago you didn't listen to me, blah, blah, blah. And believe me, I've also been there. So we're the ones that are just further along the path of remembering, and we don't need to keep jumping back into the collective unconscious soup, and we don't need to carry the fear of the world, because that's not going to help anybody. And we certainly don't need to transmit panic into the field, but we do need to be diligently tending to our own garden. And that's what I realised. I slipped in, and it was quite subtle but really quite profound in terms of the difference in my frequency. So we need to pull out those weeds of fear when they arise, and by doing that we're kind of choosing love over outrage or I told you so, or having that kind of superior attitude towards others that are just starting out on the awakening journey. Really staying rooted in the heart space, really making sure that we regulate the nervous system as a consistent practice. And as I mentioned the other day, that the nervous system is the new currency. A stabilised nervous system is the new wealth. And this keeps us in our I am presence. And in this game, in this realm, the earth experience, we chose to play this game through remembering who we are, awakening through the contrast of who we are not, and so is everybody else. We came to remember who we are in a world that forgets and allows us to forget who we are, and that was the challenge that we were so excited to embark upon. And we came to really hold strong and embody our light, which is who we are, in a place where shadows exist. And this is mastery of consciousness. So if at the moment you feel yourself being pulled into looking at these things, just even if it's just in a curious way, all of these collective stories, all of this darkness that's just unfolding, just ask yourself in that moment, what am I watering right now? What energy am I transmitting into the field? And am I being a gardener, or am I just letting the weeds take over like we did in our own garden? We've just left it for so long that the couch grass has really taken hold, and it's quite difficult and quite a long and arduous task to dig it out. So no judgment at all, but and obviously I've just done this, but just catch yourself and just notice, and then withdraw your attention from that. You don't need to look away from the truth, but you don't need to live inside it on an emotional level. And your own heart is your compass, and the nervous system is the thing that guides you and tells you how you are being and doing. And your presence, your I am presence, is the medicine for all of that. So this is a real time, a challenge for great discernment. It's time to really make sure you've got tip-top energetic hygiene, and it's time for sovereignty. So just a message to myself as well, but also to others that might be experiencing the same thing, to stay in your own lane. Just tend to your own inner garden, your own frequency, your own energetic field, and just let your light be what spreads, not the couch grass of fear. And it's exciting because the garden of the world is being cleared, and as it's cleared, it leaves space for something much more beautiful to grow, and we grow that new garden with what we choose to focus on. So I hope that helps somebody today. Obviously, if it doesn't resonate, then it doesn't resonate, but it's just sent in love. And yeah, it's a challenging time, but it's also exciting, and I'd love to hear your comments, your stories. Thank you very much for listening. I'll see you in the next one.